Very good evening to everyone present all here in the platform OYG, and I heartily welcome today on our platform Dr. Naveen sir. And today we are meeting our 200th OYG session, and sir has accepted our invitation on the behalf of 200th OYG session. Dr. Naveen sir is a BNY's first BNY's doctor, and he has completed a PhD and received DSc. He is visiting professor at University of Technology, Sydney, Australia from 2016 to present. He is in the Transdisciplinary University, Bangalore from 2018 to present. He is a research professor and co-principal investigator in the Center of Excellence, Ministry of Ayush, Government of India. And he is a member of WHO Working Group Naturopathy Practice Guidelines. He is a member of expert group in the World Naturopathic Federation, first ever faculty member in the Rajiv Gandhi University of Health Sciences, Bangalore, founder, president, Enigma, first yoga and naturopathy physician to be awarded as a doctorate of science in 2016. He has established a first chain of clinics for integrative medicine as Yogakshama Clinic for stress and lifestyle and nutrition, four in Bangalore, one in Hyderabad, one in Ladakh, and one in USA. He has lectured in many pioneered universities such as Harvard Medical School, Mayo Clinic, Center for Brain and Mind, MD Anderson Cancer Center, and so on. He has published over 50 research papers and 5 chapters in different journals and national international journals. He has guided 8 doctoral scholars and several master scholars and established several research lab and trained doctor scholars. And with this small introduction, the list is so on. So I welcome with you with this small introduction on our platform, sir. Thank you so much for accepting our invitation on short notice. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Good evening to all of you. Thanks for joining us today. Thanks to OYG team. I learned that you've been at this continuing education in various disciplines, and I'm very happy to be on your platform.
Thank you,
I
sir.
would like to know either in text, because most of you are in video off. I can understand with varying internet connections. Just to know my audience, I would like to know like who are our audience, and I can see that there are 8 participants, excluding me it would be 7. So either you can open your video and say who you are, or you can text. So while you do that, let me give a preamble for today's topic, and then since it's a small group, I would like, since we have a 40-minute Zoom call, about 15 minutes of run through of our topic today, and then I would love it, since it's a small group, to take advantage of the small group and have a very interactive session. That would give us more than monologue. I always believe that. I do not want to lose an opportunity where it can be interactive. That said, today's topic is two-pronged: evidence-based clinical practice and teaching. Now, I would stay focused in the context of medicine at large, and particularly Ayush, that is Indian medicine. And the same thing is referred to as across the world as traditional medicine. So evidence-based medicine is not just specific to Ayush or traditional medicine. It is in fact a movement that came about from the conventional medicine, simply because when somebody passes out, like in India or any UK-based formatted medical education countries, I would say all Commonwealth countries, if somebody gets passed out with MBBS, say 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, and if they just practice as a family physician, the updating of their knowledge is not through an exam, not through a licensing exam, it's more through CMEs, which are very optional. And if somebody doesn't do it, nobody cares. Now there are optional CMEs, so to keep updated with the latest development in the discipline. Now, Whereas in some countries, particularly US-based formatted countries, there are particular credits, about 12 credits of conference, CMEs, workshops, seminars, which they have to file to the licensing examination authority to keep their licenses alive. So to that extent, there is some abreasting with the latest developments, both in terms of disease demography and in terms of the interventions. So in any case, both the approaches are not foolproof. So this idea of evidence-based medicine or evidence-based practice came about, that there should be an organized approach to update doctors as to what happens in the blocks of 5 years with regard to investigations, diagnosis, differential diagnosis, various forms of diseases within the same class or super specialty or specialty, and then the treatment options and its evidence strength, and what is suitable for gender specific treatment options, ethnic specific treatment options, so on and so forth, with comorbidity, without comorbidity, and so on and so forth. So that's how it came about. And in India, Vellore pioneered it, and they have a Center for Evidence-Based Medicine. Now, this is very important for traditional medicine, simply because across the world, whether it is China, India, these are the two major players, and of course, other traditional medicine, largely from Inca civilization of South America, Aboriginal civilization from Australia, and Celtic civilization from Europe, has some contributions to traditional medicine, but largely it is India and China. So where the traditional text gives us a precise description of disease, its pathology, and its interventions. So Government of India went ahead and said, if you have a classical basis, you don't need strong clinical evidence. So that is how you see thousands and thousands of Ayurveda products available in the market with no strong clinical data of whatsoever, of the purity of the herb, or the toxicity of the herb, or the drug-herb interactions, or efficacy trial to ascertain the long-term use and its implications. So none of this data is available or needed because it is simply a traditional medicine. Now that is what is causing the problem, which is why allopaths don't want to integrate Ayurveda even today. Despite the large push that Government of India is giving, the large amount of money being spent on Ayurveda institutions across the country, over 250 colleges, we still have problem because these are single or polyherbal preparations whose data, whose evidence is not comprehensive. So that is how the evidence-based medicine, which includes evidence generation and evidence translation into clinical practice, both of which is very, very important. And minus that, the modern population will not embrace traditional medicine as it can be. And of course, the conventional medicine would be very, very apprehensive to integrate it with their conventional mode of treatment. Now, please understand, 70% of the diseases today need traditional medicine because they are non-communicable diseases, degenerative diseases, mental health, and of course, cancer. All four large categories of diseases, which amounts to about 80% of total deaths and disease suffering, needs traditional medicine. But that's not reaching all those patients simply because we do not have sufficient evidence generating mechanism and translating mechanism. So that is why whether it is yoga, Ayurveda, naturopathy, Siddha, homeopathy, or Tibetan medicine, acupuncture, traditional Chinese medicine, we need evidence. So now compared to China, India has done lot badly. For example, Chinese herbs, about less than like 1/10 of Indian original pharmacopoeia herbs, have got about 200,000 research papers of various categories, whereas in India, we just have about 6,000 papers for all about more than 20,000 herbs. Similarly, acupuncture has got about 40,000 papers. Yoga has about 6,000 to 7,000 papers. So we really lag behind in generating sufficient evidence for traditional medicine. Now, minus generating that kind of evidence, integration is very, very difficult. And which is why evidence-based medicine has to be the core of traditional medicine for it to be prescription, which is currently an option. not a prescription. And that's not a good news. Now, coming to evidence-based teaching. Now, if you don't expose, now if you go to Ayurveda, Yoga, Naturopathy colleges or homeopathy colleges, they are busy studying the traditional insights, traditional textbooks. Now, if there are these 6,000 papers of Ayurveda, about 7,000 papers of yoga that I talked about, if this is not taught to those students in 5 years, when they come out, they simply are lost. So evidence-based teaching is very important. This is very integral part of conventional medicine. If you open any textbook of medicine, all the chapters written have a reference, research references. Similarly, it is true for all disciplines like engineering, management, humanities, whatever. So only in traditional medicine, we do not have the scientific references for what we talk about in terms of understanding human disease and interventions. So to prepare the new generation of doctors who know the prevailing evidence, so therefore they will start to translate it in their bedside clinical practice. And therefore, in turn, they are able to pick up these questions and run quality clinical trials to generate evidence. So unless we make every single Indian medicine clinics, hospitals, evidence generating machines, will simply are in a disadvantage. Let me give you numbers. Let's say the total number of beds in India for conventional medicine could be probably to the tune of 12 lakh to 15 lakh beds. And I think Ayurveda does not cross about few thousands, at best 25,000 beds across about 250 colleges. Now, where is the comparison? Now, we are happy that the large number of herbs and traditional medicine and Ayurveda herbs started becoming popular thanks to COVID. But if you really look at the entire Ayurveda pharmacy industry is not equivalent to probably diabetes drug market. Forget about all others. So we are so minusculely percentage-wise such a small market, and we are all of it is in India. And the most tragic situation is that not a single Ayurvedic herb or proprietary medicine gets exported as medicine. When it goes out of India, it goes as a food supplement. That's a tragedy. It's simply because it cannot crisscross the world because we do not have enough evidence. Whereas Chinese medicine, herbs crisscross the world as medicine. Now, therefore, the revenue, the cost, the foreign exchange, everything is so much better. And we don't seem to understand. Despite a very, very pro-Ayush government for 8 years, we've done some small scattered work, but I don't think we've made a big dent in the international market. Look at yoga, for example. Yoga is popularized through Yoga Day campaigns, but it is not translated into medium and long-term initiatives to make it evidence-based mind-body medicine. Now, for that, the hierarchy of yoga professionals has to be defined. So when you market particular discipline or a system of medicine, simultaneously we need to regulate it, watch it, so that the organic development of these systems are very controlled and meet the highest international professional standards. But instead, we have opened the floodgates. So somebody who has done 3 months yoga, somebody who has done PhD in yoga are equated, and they both teach in the same apartment, and the consumer has no idea to differentiate the quality of training. Now, these are the big gaps that we have not been doing. And the core of all these corrections is evidence generation and evidence translation, both in the practice level and at education level. With that, I stop here for a short while. And now I would like to hear who am I talking to. And then based on that, I'll give a little more details on what I've been talking so far. And then I would love to have questions for about 15-20 minutes. Thank you. Hello? Is anyone going to speak or chat?
That's what, sir. I have asked if anyone, like at least they can introduce themselves.
Okay, Vinay Kumar, last month of interns at Alvas. Okay. Vinay, your interns come to Yogakshema. This is a neutral platform, and I'm glad you're on this platform. Good for the platform, good for you. Big hello. And if you have any questions, let's make it interactive because we're a small group of people. The next one, please. Thank you. Good to see an intern from JSS. Again, Azuma. Pre-pandemic, I used to get interns from JSS. Because of pandemic, that got paused. We would look forward to resume in future months. Welcome, and you're welcome to ask questions through the text, and I'll answer them. Sushma, finally a BNY student from Care Yoga. Very good. I have heard very good things about your college, and you are in final year. You are about to get into the internship. So a lot of yoga and naturopathy students are here. I was hoping the other Ayush systems also will be here because that's how I kept it very generic topic. But it's very cozy to have all yoga and naturopathy physicians and students here. Thank you. Bhavya, intern from SDM. Wonderful. That's the 4th college. Jahnavi from Government College, Mysore. That's the 5th college. Wonderful. So all couple of final years and couple of interns. Very good. So how many does that make out of 18? So now we have more people. So can you please quickly introduce so that we don't lose time? Mayuran, finally a BNYS. Which college? If that would be nice if you say. Preeti, intern again. Welcome from Mysore. Who else? That's not 8. That's not 17 people as yet. Thank you, Mayuran. You're from JSS. Thanks for that. SHM, can you expand it? Mamta Chawla, SHM, MD, TCM. Wonderful. Can you also text where you did your MD? That would be lovely to know. Intern from Alva, thank you. Yes, Vyasa, wonderful. My home institution for 21 years from 1992 to 2015. Afia, welcome. Nostalgic feeling to have a student from Visweswaraiah. Are we done with the introduction? Anybody left? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10. So I see you're 18. So that's 7 more are left. MD from Alvas College. Very good. Thank you. Mamta. What is this SHM? I don't get that.
Sant Ridram.
Oh, okay. Bhopal. Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. One of my favorite colleges. Aditi, okay, why are you, Aditi, why are you here? You should be giving talk. So I was just exploring the platform. But then nevertheless, good to have you here. Next time you should be speaking. For all of you interns and students, Aditi is somebody who worked with us for 5 years, runs a clinic in Mysore, and she's ever thirsty, and which is how she's here in a student platform. I must say one of my favorites in the entire community. If you speak to her, much of my what I have to say you will get from her. I would request the team, please invite Aditi for the next talk. And of course, I think we have to leave it here, about 17 people. Good. That's a small, cozy group. Questions, please. Let's make it interactive. It would be nice to see your face asking me a question. Otherwise, text if you don't feel like showing your face. Okay, there's a comment here. You're mentioning about the number of papers published in Ayush field, but my concern is whether we should focus on quality or quantity of research papers. What are ways to understand the quality of the research papers, and how one can reach out to common people via research papers? Very good questions. There are 3 parts to it. Firstly, for any new field, you must have numbers. Just the way I keep telling as a national president of our Doctors Association, we need numbers. Now we need colleges. We have 60 plus colleges. There are very good colleges, there are mediocre colleges, there are not so good colleges. But that doesn't matter. We need numbers. We need homeopathy is 200 college, Ayurveda is 200 college, MBBS is about 600 college. So we need numbers for us to be having any qualitative changes much later. Number one. Now research papers, now no journal will, a peer-reviewed journal will not accept any rubbish. So regardless of its categories of papers, for example, simple to comprehensive, progressive order would be case studies and then matched randomized, then the controlled randomized. So now in this ladder, if you publish in any of these categories in a peer-reviewed journal, it will be of some quality. Only if you publish in non-peer-reviewed, non-indexed journals that you don't even consider as a research paper. If somebody considers, UGC considers it, MCI considers it, these are all ad hoc just to ruin our country in terms of quality and standards that's set by the world. In fact, in my opinion, none of those journals should be accounted for. So if it's only peer-reviewed and indexed, then the quality, minimum quality is assured. Now, how one will understand the quality of research paper? Now, you look at journals. Now, again, I'm talking about only indexed journals. You look at what is called impact factor. So impact factor is defined by various factors. So it is a factor that decides the impact of a research paper. Impact of a research paper of that paper particularly as a topic, as a contribution to the clinical practice, and the impact on growing that section of or that subsection of the field or discipline. So it must add like a brick in the wall. Every research paper is one brick in the wall to make the wall. So it should add to the existing information and make it more profound and take it to better and profound questions so that better answers come out to make it a very comprehensive piece of information. Now, that's one part. The second part is citation index. Now, citation index means, suppose if I publish a paper, how many times and how many people I've quoted my paper, which means the depth and the strength of my paper is based on how well it is cited. So that is second way of knowing it. The third one is simply the journal quality. There are some journals which do not worry about any of these factors, but the house which is publishing it, for example, Science Direct, Elsevier, Springer, Nature, these are top of the line publishers. Marianne Liebert, some of these top of the line publishers, any of their journals, even if it is new, that has a good benchmark of quality. Now, coming to your last part of your question, that is, how do we reach it? This is called translational research. This is also called research. And Aditi has done good piece of work in that. I think in the next talk, Aditi, please talk about translational research. Tell our students and interns how we convert a bunch of research papers into evidence-based protocol. So this is how you translate it from a hardcore research piece of material into usable everyday clinical material. So that is a process somebody has to get trained in, and there are clinical manuals. So we are currently in the process of bringing out a clinical guideline for yoga in various disciplines. So it will start pouring out from September, and it will be a ready reckoning on everybody's table. So that is the only question I have. And thank you for confirming that Aditi will give us the next talk, and that is going to be a good follow-through. So let's talk more. More questions, please. How many of you have had opportunity to experience evidence-based education in your colleges? Can you share your experience in a line or talk? I see about 7-8 colleges represented here. So you are ambassadors of your college. Tell me what level of evidence-based education is happening in your college. Particularly students. Jannavi, interns, I'll ask another question. Sushma, then Mayuran, then Afia, Jonah Teresa. Tell me, you are all final year students. Tell me what kind of evidence-based teaching have you experienced in your college? And then interns, tell me what kind of evidence-based practice have you witnessed in your hospital, in your teaching hospital attached to your college? Aditi knows, and I'm sure all of you know, some of you who knows me. If you don't talk, I don't talk. So I want it to be interactive. Otherwise, you are used to monologues in your lecture, isn't it? For 5 years, you've done that. So I think I've asked a very pertinent question for today's topic, and you need to answer.
Sir, I do have a question if I'm allowed to ask.
Who is speaking?
Sir, I am
Maybe a
Bhavit.
little louder.
Yeah, sir. So,
Who
sir,
is that?
Sir, I'm Bhavit.
Bansal.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, go ahead, Bansal.
So my question is like, how do we come across with these kind of institutions where we are told to do our dissertations in our internship, and that should be like how we can represent that dissertation into a paper, because every time we do a dissertation, it just being a dissertation, it comes to the library and it won't be going further steps, it won't be taking up. So that is a very first step we do as a BNYS doctors in the system to do a small kind of research or a kind of pilot studies. It might be of a RCTs, or it might be of any study. So how can we take it forward to the another step?
I got your question. There are 58,000 MBBS doctors coming out who also does the dissertation as part of your interns. There are close to 12,000 postgraduates in allopathy pass out with MD, write their thesis. As I told you, 200 into 200, about 40,000 Ayurveda doctors, about 40,000 homeopathy doctors, about couple of thousand yoga naturopathy doctors pass out with their dissertation. And MD in yoga and naturopathy about 1,000 a year, and in Ayurveda about 8 to 10,000 a year. Homeopathy 8 to 10,000 a year. None of these get into research papers. And unfortunately, whether it is allopathy, Ayurveda, homeopathy, yoga, naturopathy, the internship dissertations, MD thesis have been the namesake thesis. Simply because the colleges don't make it mandatory for it to be a research paper, number one. Number two, it is a lot of work for the faculty to groom students. Number three, the faculty themselves have to be that good to be able to guide and publish, because the faculty will also be co-author. Number four, the more, unfortunately, we have an idea in India, the more difficult you make it for students, the less students will come to that college, they may go to the other college. If all the colleges follow the same template, there's no choice for the students but to follow. And finally, the universities which affiliate our colleges don't make it mandatory that these theses and dissertations should be converted into research papers. So that is the first problem. So which means, so lakhs of MDs that are passed out, lakhs of students that pass out as undergraduate doctors, just doing namesake work, which is such a tragedy. Number two, if you want to do a dissertation which is worthy of a research paper, an MD thesis is worthy of research paper, you have to plan ahead. At least you need to plan about, for a dissertation, a simple case study kind of a thing, about 6 months. And for MD, you have all 3 years, at least leave 1 year, you have 2 years to do it. So you can actually do a very good study. And that needs, which means as soon as interns come to the first day of internship, they should start their dissertation work. And in my view, every dissertation can convert into a case series or case study. And Pradeep Nair, through his academy and through the college, I'm very happy, is one of those who was groomed by our early research methodology workshops that we were conducting from our trust and from NIN and from CCRYN. He is one of those second generation, very, very prolific publisher and a researcher, and who has become a very good mentor now. He's been conducting now, I think tomorrow or today, he will start naturopathy case history taking masterclass. Please do join. And if every dissertation turns into case series or a case study, that's possible in 1 year of internship. Similarly, every MD dissertation can become simple original article, if not a full-blown article, full-blown research paper. It can be a pilot study for 2 years. And there's so many questions that are unanswered in our clinical practice. So this is to be a conjoint effort from the university, which should make it mandatory, then the college. If university doesn't make it mandatory, colleges can make it mandatory on their own so that they can become better than other colleges. And if even college doesn't make it mandatory, students themselves can prepare. Finally, a student can say, this internship, I'm going to do a case study, attend the masterclass of Pradeep, and next internship, I'll do a case study. Or somebody who is joining MD, I'll make sure I'll do a pilot study and publish. This can also be a decision at the level of the student. Thank you. That was a very good question, and I'm sure it will help a lot of people. Next question, please. You still, none of you have answered my question. That's not so good. More questions?
Hello, sir. Myself, Dr. Mamta Chawla. I'm from Sant Hidaram Medical College of Naturopathy and Ayurvedic Sciences, Bhopal. So, I done, yes, actually, I done my PG in Sant Hidaram Medical College only under the guidance of Pradeep Nair sir, and I completed my MD thesis under the guidance of him, and he taught us actually what is the evidence-based practice in naturopathy in the field of TCM, traditional Chinese system of medicine. So my thesis topic is pulse diagnosis in between different two different practitioners, what we are doing in pulse diagnosis. So we done a thesis, and thesis is also submitted in very good journal. So yes, we are practicing evidence-based practice under the guidance of him. So, and also I'm teaching here in Bhopal students, BNY students also. So we are teaching them to read different papers of different pathies in our under the naturopathy course. So yes, sir, we are practicing evidence-based practices in terms of different reading different research papers.
Very good. Thank you, Mamta.
Topics. Yes, sir. Yeah.
Thank you. Ever since Pradeep has joined your college, things have changed, I know. So and I also know that, as you know, I come to all of his programs, and I'm very proud of his work. See, that's what one faculty can do. You know, it can change the college, it can change the temperament of the college, and it can change the temperament of every MD thesis. And for everybody's benefit, please share the link of the paper that is published from your MD thesis, so that people get a sample of how an MD thesis can be into a research paper. Please share in the text. That is number one. Number two, so you are a good example of evidence-based medicine or generating evidence. Now the question is, and I'm sure Pradeep will be making sure that every MD would turn into a research paper as much as possible. Now, you talked about evidence-based teaching. Just 1 second. Okay, just 1 second, hold on.
Okay.
So when it comes to evidence-based teaching, one is to teach your students how to read papers. That's not evidence-based teaching. Evidence-based teaching is when you stand up for every lecture.
Yes.
Whatever you say in that classroom, it should have either a reference from a textbook, or which is a traditional textbook, not a commentary, not a notes, or from a research paper. If what you say does not have a reference, then it is not evidence-based teaching. And I know you already made a beginning, and I am sure you will reach a very optimal situation. During internship, we were told to refer research papers to treat few cases. Mostly acupuncture and yoga therapy papers were available in large number, but came to know we are lagging behind the naturopathy sector. That's wrong. Naturopathy, per se, you will not have a research paper. If you look at naturopathy as a system, if you key in naturopathy in PubMed or in Google Scholar or Science Direct or anywhere, Cochrane database or anywhere, you will have less papers, obviously. But if you write massage therapy, or if you look at hydrotherapy, if you look at nutrition, if you look at calorie restriction, if you look at intermittent fasting, there are lakhs of research papers. Now, all of it is a substance of study for us. So it's a wrong notion to say that naturopathy sector is lagging behind. As all of us understand, naturopathy is a bunch of therapy. It's not one therapy. And if you look at the evidence for each of these independent component of the bunch, you have lakhs and lakhs of research papers. In fact, it will overtake any traditional Chinese medicine or any other traditional medicine. So if you just look at massage therapy, look at fasting, look at your calorie restriction, look at magnets, electromagnetic fields, look at healing powers of the color or the light, the number of, and you add all of that, it will exceed all of the other traditional medicine. So one has to have this understanding, number one. Number two, you cannot go and study a research paper and then use it in your clinical practice. That is not evidence-based teaching. This is something that we have to understand and evolve. Evidence-based teaching is in a classroom. When a teacher speaks to you, the teacher is talking only evidence. This is evidence-based teaching. You referring one research paper for back pain out of 600 research paper is not evidence-based teaching. And using that one paper for your back pain treatment is also not evidence-based medicine. This is namesake or incomplete or sketchy, right? So, but that's a good beginning if you've started it, but it's a very, very primitive step. There has to be when an institution adopts evidence-based teaching, it has to be very comprehensive, and that needs lots of preparation. And the institution should be able to invest that kind of money and time and create a group of people to create this content so that it can be taught. Okay, thanks, Vinay. You've been giving us very good questions for the benefit of everyone. So good, the numbers have increased. So there are 13 people as opposed to 17, which is a good news. So can we have more questions, please? Bansal has spoken, Aruna, Keshari, Azuma, Bhavya, Anirudh,
I didn't catch.
Janvi, Lata, please speak. Please understand one thing. The singular capital for yoga and naturopathy physicians is speaking. You know, on a lighter note, other than acupuncture, we do nothing to the patient. Everything our therapist will do. So you have to be very, very communicative. And I'm available freely. So let's have a good chat and make the most of this time.
Hello, sir.
Go
This
ahead.
is Dr. Aniruddha Arya here.
Very good.
I'm currently doing my master's in musculoskeletal sports science and health in UK. I did my BMS degree from Visweswaraiah University.
Okay.
So my question to you is more on a general basis, but I'm sorry, I actually couldn't attend the starting half of the lecture. So
Not
I
a
just
problem.
wanted to ask how, with your perspective, how do you think yoga or naturopathy might have beneficial effects for athletes or sports performance improvement or in that sector? Because we know
Multiple
there are.
ways. In multiple ways, it is a very a broad spectrum discipline that is waiting to be explored by our doctors. I would always encourage people to go beyond the standard naturopathy, yoga and naturopathy hospital template and explore newer avenues. And to that extent, I'm very glad you've already explored a new master's. For everybody's benefit, just put a text that where exactly you're pursuing your master's so that others get educated so that they can pursue a similar path. With that, your question is also very pertinent, and then it becomes very relevant and brings out a topic that is waiting to be explored. That is, now look at professional athletes or sports person. What is the first requirement? Fitness, physical fitness. Now, physical fitness does not come from only strength exercises. Now, physical fitness also includes endurance. Endurance doesn't come from strength exercises. Endurance comes from low to medium and moderate exercises. And the strength exercises has some side effects, after effects in creating sustained muscular spasms, therefore rigidity, therefore compromised agility. So the stretch exercises is more like an antidote for strength exercises. So in the core areas of any sports person of enhancing their skill, the stretch exercises becomes an optimizer, an antidote, a complement to strength exercise. And that's where yoga comes into picture, number one. Number two, I'm talking about first good things. Then we'll come to the problems of being an athlete or a sports person and then how we can fix them. And number two is a nutrition. Now, a sports personnel has to have a very wholesome nutrition, balanced macro and micronutrients. It depends on the severity of the sports that they are engaged in. We'll have to look at the electrolyte balances, the acid-base balance, and their gut health. Now, hydration is directly proportional to the quality of the performance. This word knows electrolyte and hydration decides the quality of the performance. Number three, a lot of these professional sports persons have easily today about 20 years of their career in sports, if not 20, 15 years for sure, from their training period to their peaking period and then their weaning period. Now, that's a long period for them to be fit. So, this is an area where people can be contributed both in terms of their performance and their nutrition. Now, for 15 years, if you were to have a protein supplemented through animal protein, there are lakhs and lakhs of studies to demonstrate that the after effects, the compromised metabolism of animal protein is now evident. If you look at some of the star performers today in sports arena, they are vegetarians and they live on plant proteins. So to explore and expand this possibility, but still, mind you, 95% of sports persons are not vegetarians. They are not getting their proteins from plant proteins. So it's only 5%. But this 5% is the creamy layer, the top of their game. But the 95% or an 8-year-old student, a child wants to explore sports, professional sports, they think that they should start eating meat even though they come from a non-meat eating family or a country. That's a tragedy. So there's so much room for us to take care of these sports persons and promote their performance. And finally, which is very, very important, is the make or break for a professional sports person is their performance anxiety. So a lot of people are talking about mental health and performance anxiety. Performance anxiety starts from the day they start the training. And that is where yoga therapy is one of the most proven through the current evidence that the performance anxiety can be very well dealt, not by the physio who is coaching them, not by the nutritionist who is coaching them, not by just a general professional sporting coach. We need a mental health coach. They're trying to get clinical psychologists. Talking doesn't take away performance anxiety. You got to do something about it. And working with one's breath is the best way to take care of professional anxiety and to enhance one's performance. So breath management in itself is a smart way of managing metabolism. So these are the areas of promotion of professional sports person. Now come to the injury prevention and injury management. That's a whole new arena in itself. While we have physiotherapy, people are fixed through physiotherapy and they're put into professional sports. But they do not do anything to counter a relapse of similar damage. That is where yoga therapy becomes handy, where you rebuild the capacities that has caused the injury. Number one. Number two, the performance anxiety becomes anxiety, neurosis, or neuroticism, which hampers the performance, and sometimes people are out of their game because of the performance anxiety. So we can prevent that loss of those very peaking performance years. So in summary, both in the promotion and sustenance of professional career for a sports person or an athlete, and for injury prevention and injury management, there is ample scope. We often think that performance anxiety is only managed by yoga. Hydrotherapy is one of the most proven strategy for anxiety management. Our immersions are best known tranquilizers. We are not using them sufficiently. So we just have to think and create this new path. Thank you. I hope I've covered this for you and for everyone's benefit.
Yes, sir, that is very insightful. Thank you so much. But do you mind if I have a following question to that? Is that okay?
Please. I'm sure people would benefit from that.
So as you said, just to have a look into it, like yoga can have intervention in developing the athlete performance in every level, like preventive and rehabilitation, and also improving the athlete performance. But already there are established multidisciplinary teams working for an athlete, including sports nutritionists, rehabilitator, physiotherapists, and all of them. So where do you think a role of a yoga and naturopathy consultant or a practitioner would come into improving an athlete's disciplinary approach or the sports approach? Because there are already established teams which work for one single athlete.
Certainly. This is a more practical question. Now, who is a nutritionist? Somebody who has done BS or BSc and MSc in nutrition. Who is a psychologist? A BSc, MSc clinical psychology. Who is a physiotherapist? BPT, MPT. Now, these are allied science professionals doing 3 different things from 3 different people, right? Now, the question that we as yoga and naturopathy physicians have to ask, if it comes to mind management, mental health management, and performance anxiety, my yoga insights, my naturopathy therapies together as a passive therapies and active engagement through yoga, is it going to be better than a clinical psychologist? Can I add value? Yes, our doctors can do counseling just the way psychologists can do. And can I do more? Answer is yes. Similarly, nutritionist. So the conventional nutritionist trained in conventional nutrition therapies and interventions, doing what they're doing. But then can we bring insights in terms of intermittent fasting, calorie restrictions, in terms of plant protein management, in terms of natural resources, in terms of a program nutrition, because we're talking about somebody who is an adolescent to young adult and to middle-aged adult is what we are traveling, the journey of an athlete. Most of these athletes will have one nutritionist for good period of time, one physio, one psychologist. So can we do more than a conventional nutritionist? Answer is yes. Can we do a follow through to a physiotherapist? You cannot replace a physiotherapist, but can we do a follow through to what physiotherapist cannot do? When a physiotherapist is doing what he is doing, is not bringing the breath and the mind component. He's only dealing with the body component. So can I make the healing better with my breath and mind component? So if I can add value more than physio, more than nutritionist, more than clinical psychologist, then we have a role to play, number one. The beauty of it is we are packed into one. All three these roles a BNYS doctor can play. So if we start doing this as a very comprehensive advice, if somebody starts professionalizing this advice, more and more people will start looking at us as a curated advisor at a medical capacity who can even tell what a nutritionist, what a physiotherapist, and what a psychologist should be doing. And this BNYS doctor can be a touch point with an athlete so that he will ensure these three and plus the other three interventions that he brings adds value. And that is missing. We just have to demonstrate that. And somebody has to take this as a life machine and demonstrate it. And that's possible.
Sure, sir. Thank you so much, because it was a very well-rounded answer and it was very insightful, sir. Thank you for your time.
Pleasure. Thank you. Now coming to one very interesting comment here. In NIN, they're doing explores to case study, presentations, discussions. It's certainly a engaging evidence-based practice from literature. Very good. I'm very, very happy that this is happening. I'm not questioning what is happening. We are today discussing evidence-based teaching. Now, evidence-based teaching has to meet certain standards inside a classroom from the first year to the fourth year and in the internship. That's what we're talking about. And I just gave an overview. So these are all very, very good pieces that are emerging in Bhopal, in SDM, in SVASA, and NIN, and other colleges. I'm not sure. Please enlighten me. These are the pieces of a large jigsaw. And we have to put these puzzles together and make a very smart canvas. And this is an evolution. And we need to reach there. And I'm glad some of these institutions have taken certain initiatives. Okay. Anirudh, Arya, hello. Yeah, hello. Is there anything that you want to say more? Anything else?
No, sir. No, sir. That's it.
Yeah. So we are reaching 6 o'clock. Anybody else want to ask anything? See, the questions that are asked, I am sure, is not only benefit to the person who has asked the question, but I'm sure all of you did get benefited, and I also got to think. So it's a very, very mutually learning experience when you interact. So let's wait for another 5 minutes. If there are no questions, then we will do a formal thank you and then close this session.
I have a question. Like, you have answered the perspective of Dr. Anirudh, what he asked to you.
Yeah.
So, but our education of BNYS is enough, or our training is enough to fulfill all the requirements what you have described in your answer. So that's the thing, like, because are we learning enough to teach a psychology component or a yoga component itself or naturopathy component to the athlete or anyone from the different perspective?
You know the answer, I know the answer. Answer is no. So which is why the evidence-based teaching it is not a need. It is an urgent requirement. Every 1 hour of teaching that goes by in any of this college from first year to fifth year without evidence-based teaching template, we are losing out in creating a very optimally trained doctor, which means we are going to release every October bunch of doctors who are not complete in their training. And we need to fix this after 27 years of 29 years of 27 years of our graduation. So this cannot continue. So this is an urgent crisis that needs to be fixed. But we have made, some of the colleges have made the effort. But I also blame all the faculty and all the seniors. We have not created enough content. So it's an ecosystem that is yet to evolve. Number one. But that said, if you ask a question, 12th standard examination, is it sufficient for me to crack IIT or JEE or any of the AIMS entrance? Answer is no, which is why the Byju's and this and that have come. So which means whether they were there or not there, people were cracking these exams, which means they were looking outside their classrooms. So the point I want to make is, we are professional students and professionals after passing out, and we get in here as adults post 18. I think we should start looking for these avenues, thanks to again likes of Pradeep, who is creating these platforms. Go out there and seek information all over, and then be very demanding. There are interns and students here. My problem is not with the college. My problem is not with the lecturers. My problem is with the students. You guys are not demanding in your college. I don't know the reasons. Why are you so operating out of fear? At 8, you passed a 12th grade. My 12th grade and your 12th grade, the quality is very different. You know what is evidence. You know what I mean. Your 12th grade is world class. You pass that and come here and then start compromising. Why do you do that? You're paying fees. You're being right. You study hard. You pass your internals. Nobody can stop you. Be very demanding. We want this. And that's the way you create demand. You are a customer in a college. A customer demands and the college has to fulfill it. Until then, you start looking around because you're a professional. But that doesn't take away the responsibility from the college, from the faculty, from the seniors like all of us, to create enough content so that there is information out there for you to seek. To that extent, I'm very thankful. Pradeep is doing that work for all of you. I think more and more Pradeeps should be around. And we did enough to create likes of Pradeep and a lot of other people. Today we have about 40 PhDs and all the MDs. So we have created a path, and now these flowers are blossoming. Make the best use of all of these platforms, resources, and in turn help your colleges to grow. So as you grow in your professional journey, which is why I have never left connection with my college, even today. Every 6 months I'm there. So whatever you grasp, what was not there in your college, let your juniors not suffer. Go back and fix it. So for yourself and for your future.
Thank you
Did
so
I
much.
answer your question?
Yeah,
fully?
thank you so much, sir.
Pleasure. I'm pursuing my master's in musculoskeletal sports science. Wonderful. Thank you. And write a blog on this so that more and more our students can find universities and these kind of courses. I've always been an advocate of MSc and MPhil in UK for our graduates, and it would be nice for you to write a little blog and share it, Arya, in all the platforms, and that will be beautiful. Thank you.
Sure, sir. I'll take your guidance on that.
Thank you. As each one of us take a new step, because we are an evolving new system, you become the guide under that path and create a new path, standardize it, and you become the beacon of that path. And that's an opportunity we have. 100 years later, we won't have this opportunity. So grab that opportunity, Arya. Yeah. Anybody else? Is that all? Anybody wants to say anything?
Sir, I have a doubt.
Please go ahead.
I'm a student of BNYS at JSS. My doubt is, are diagnostic methods sufficient to diagnose a disease?
Very good question. If you look at the clinical insights, and when you are looking at clinical insights and clinical observations, we are looking for something, right? And what we look for as yoga and naturopathy physicians, what a conventional medicine professional or physician looks for, and what an Ayurveda physician looks for through clinical observations are three different things. So for what we are looking at, our methods are good enough. You're looking at encumbrance, you're looking at iris diagnosis, you're looking at the tongue diagnosis. We have sufficient information and a sufficient methodology to do that. And there are two things that we should do. Well, clinical observations and clinical examination, we should never stop using them, first of all. We should start using them and then start correlating with the standards. Suppose if you make a diagnosis based on iris diagnosis, correlate it with other clinical symptoms and biochemical investigations. You make a encumbrance observation, match it with your X-ray and MRIs. You do tongue diagnosis, match it with again biochemical investigations. So when you start doing that, and you do it for 500 patients a year, you have data with you. Some match, some don't match. And the more the matching happens, you get excited that this is working. So this is one thing to do. So not to answer is, these are good enough measures to continue in our clinical practice, and use them, and don't use them in independent isolation. Don't use them for your clinical inference and treatment management. Use it as an adjunct and constantly correlate with the other modes of investigations and diagnosis, diagnostic methods. Which is why in our final year, we have what is called modern medical diagnostics. Number 2. Number 3, independently, if you want to talk about it to fellow medical community physicians, these have not stood the test of science as yet. Now, whose responsibility is that? We have 60 colleges. If 5 colleges decide, okay, we will take care of tongue diagnosis, 5 says we will take care of encumbrance, 5 will say we take care of, or 10 will take care of iris diagnosis. In 3 years, 5 years, we have enough data to see whether this correlation happens or not. While each of your interns and physicians are doing your observation, colleges through their teaching hospitals can establish. This is easy job to do, but it is yet to be done. So if you ask me, are they scientifically proven? Do we have evidence? No. Should we be the part of evidence generation for these? Yes. How do we do it? Start using it and start correlating with other diagnostic methods which are standardized. Very good question. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. The answer was very relevant to my question, and it has brought more vision to me in it.
Pleasure. Good luck in using those methods and actively correlate. And if you need any help in doing systematic correlations, please write to us. We will help you do that.
Thank you, sir.
Any other question? There are smart questions, so please ask. I think the difficulty is in you think to decide to ask question. When you do, these are very smart questions. I'm glad. Anybody else who have not spoken, please? Don't make others wait. The best thing is when I'm answering to get ready the another question. There are a lot of you who have not spoken a word. Okay. So let's wait for a minute. It's 6:09 in my watch, 6:10. If I don't have a question, then that's it for today. Somebody just joined now. Bhupal just joined now. Introduce yourself. We haven't heard from some of you. We don't know who you are. Some new people have joined. So if you want to say which college are you and what are you doing, you can text it here. That will be useful. Okay, that's about it. 6:10. Thank you very much. Thank you, OYG. I love the name. Own Your Growth. Nobody can give you growth. You have to initiate your own growth. And a nice platform which brings the students from all colleges. And I was being asked to do this for some time now. I'm sorry I delayed for quite a lot of time, and I'm glad I made the decision to do it. And I'm happy that 17, 18 of you have showed up, and I'm glad your time spent with me is worthwhile. And very importantly, the questions that are asked, some of them are very, very pertinent, fabulous questions in deciding your quality of stay as a student, in deciding quality of your training as intern, and in deciding the quality of your clinical practice and post-graduation. All of it is very, very important component in one's career. And I'm sure this recorded video can be shared to your friends, because much of it is Q&A, and I'm sure a lot of people can find some benefit. And I'm glad that I got an opportunity to have some time with you. Spending time with students makes me feel young. Thank you, OYG, for this. And thank you for offering to call Aditi. And thank you, Aditi, for accepting. And I'm sure your translational modus operandi for translational research for you would be a good talk. And I'm sure that sharing of that will help a lot of faculty to adopt that method and enhance evidence-based practice in their hospitals and enhance evidence-based teaching in their colleges. With that, thank you very much. Have a very good evening.
Thank you so much, sir, that you have come on our platform, and we have been enlightened with different questions, and with your advices might help in different time of our career, because we are just budding naturopathy doctors and we need your advices or senior advices, which we seek in different platforms. So with that idea, this was created to seek and advise, to learn from different doctors from our community to go growth more. And with that approach, you have been on us with on 200th OYG session, which is not an easy for us to do. And you have accepted and you have done a very supportive job to all of us, and many other doctors will come in future to give access what is available in our system and what can we do more in our system. So with this insight, I would like to thank everyone who are there in the session, and thanks to you, sir, to come on our platform once again. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you.
I love your platform, and I wish all the best for it to grow exponentially in coming days. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.